Do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo, the great Gerard Cherry on the other end. He is downtown. My friend, how you living on this fine Wednesday? It's cold and it's wet, Gerard. This is not what we're supposed to be doing after Memorial Day.
Yeah, man. I'm sick and tired of it, Bo, to be honest with you. It's
broken.
Bad for me, man, that I got sunburned by being in a warmer, sunnier climate because of the fact it's so gray here. So, yeah, at some point, when it is spring going to actually be sunny and we have some semblance of summer, I know I'm sounding like I'm lamenting, complaining, and all that, but just to be frank with you, I'm sick and tired of it.
I'm broken, buddy. I'm a broken man.
I heard you.
I'm telling you, I got a sunburn on Sunday watching my kids play lacrosse, and it was 61 degrees because I haven't seen the sun in 6 months. Listen, I'm guessing, though, as a player, if you're at OTAs, the rain's probably a little annoying, but the weather's pretty damn good, I would think. You'd take this over 95.
See, that's interesting that you
or
phrase
would
it
you?
that way.
Or would you?
You don't see that's a great setup, and here's the reason why. Because if you're serious about championship pursuits, or if you just want to get by and get it over with, then 61 sounds pleasant to you. That's what you want all day long. But what you need to understand is that there are plenty of teams right now in the southern part of our country who play in the National Football League, or guys who train on their own, who want that smoke, who want that heat, who want to be in a situation where they get the worst conditions from a heat standpoint to help do what? Get that base, get that core. So, no, you don't want this. This hurts the cause. I pray that this doesn't continue into the summer, because if this is what we're going to be practicing in, we're going to have some problems.
Too easy, you're saying.
Exactly.
So
you want it strenuous.
And I've talked to you about this before, about the makeup of a championship team, and that's something you know absolutely. You obviously can't control the weather. That, it is what it is. You can't control it.
Right.
But the mindset you can control. The teams that you were on that wanted to accomplish something great, how much of the tone was set now at OTAs?
That's when it was set.
Yeah.
Those first meetings, heck, before even OTAs were set, when you had the team initial meeting of what was the procedure, what was the expectations, all that was being formulated right there, and it carried right over into OTAs. And you hit OTAs with on the ground running with the idea that, no, every rep, every play, every situation in which we can get ahead of gives us the opportunity to be more prepared than our competition. Because that's the thing. It's finite. You can only practice so many hours of the day, right? So if you're out there performing at a high level and not repeating the same things because you're making mistakes, but able to add more to your plate, that's going to help the cause. So I've always been a proponent based upon, as you said, Bo, experience, to know that, yeah, you make it happen. You won't lose the season now, but you certainly can be in a situation where you can set yourself up for success by approaching it the right way.
Yeah, and the other thing I think obviously everybody was. I mean, this is one of the talking points in all of the NFL, is that we have a four-person quarterback competition here. You got four folks in it. It's very rare in the NFL that you have it like this. Usually, if you have a quarterback competition, it's two. Sometimes there's three, but the only one I could even think of with three was the one that Purdy won over Trey Lance and Garoppolo. That's the only time I could think of even three. Most of the time it's two. But you got four here. And one thing we're all paying attention to is kind of like, what's the order of all of this? So Joe Flacco took the first reps in 11 on 11. Kenny Pickett in the offense-only drills took the first quarterback reps there. And as they're closing up practice here in the last couple of minutes, they're doing a veteran side and a rookie side. So on the vet side, Flacco went first, and then Dillon went first, and then Shedeur. Is there anything to be made of any of this?
Oh, yeah. Read into all of it.
That's what I think. I was just saying, I agree with you.
Yeah, certainly. Yes, read into it. Well, one, read into the idea that they don't know far as who is going to be the starter between Pickett and Flacco, because the fact that they even gave Pickett some opportunity to be with the ones first tells you that they have not made it a foregone conclusion that Joe Flacco is your starter come opening day. At the same time, though, in my opinion, based upon Flacco being with the ones first in the 11 on 11s, as well as the drill that you just mentioned, that tells me that right now, as the state of things are taking place today, he's at number one. Now, they also could throw a curveball into it, Bo, and say the following. Tomorrow, it'll be vice versa.
Yeah.
And then we'll be basically stuck in the same situation I just described. But yes, read into that, folks. That ultimately means that, no, there's been no clear-cut decision. But what we do know is that the rookies right now are not being perceived as starters. That's what we know for sure.
No, and I think they have to earn it. And I think when you look at the start of the schedule, and Z and I have been saying this for a long time, if it's anybody other than Pickett, we would be pretty surprised. I think the start to that season is so brutal, and no matter how good these two rookies are now and into training camp, man, that's a tough road to hoe, going Cincinnati, Baltimore, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh.
No doubt.
That's brutal. I wouldn't want to send a kid into that, and dipping his toe in the NFL waters for the first time. Conversely, with Pickett, you have a former first-round pick who's a 26-year-old kid, who is getting kind of a second shot here. And so I would be shocked if it's not Pickett. I really would. And Z and I talk about that quite a bit. And I think that is something that they have to work towards, though, is this is a wide open competition. For me, the perception has always been like Joe Flacco is the break the glass if emergency guy, and everybody else, we want to see what they have over the course of the year. The reality is Flacco's 40. And there's not a future here long-term for him regardless. The other three, any one of them could be.
Right. Yeah, that's totally fair, and it makes all sense in the world, hence why you figure that Kenny would have the edge over Joe if it was close. Because sometimes in these scenarios when it is close, who do you go with? Well, you go with the guy who has more vitality, if you will, of being around for the long term. Now, we didn't pick up Kenny's fifth-year option, and we understand why, because he hasn't proven anything yet. Now, if he does ball out, you have to imagine that Andrew Berry and company are going to do what? Call his agent and work out something from a contractual standpoint, especially if he is anointed the starter and he earns it, Bo, and he goes to this murderer's row that you just mentioned of the Bengals, the Ravens, the Packers, the Lions, and the Vikings, and heck, even the Steelers in the first 6 weeks of the season, and you're able to have a winning record with that. What more convincing do you need? But ultimately, I do agree with you, and I've been saying this for the longest, and for some reason, my co-hosts in the afternoon have not agreed with me. But I'm like, folks, think about it. They acquired him via a trade. He was the first person on their list of things to do. Yep. So that shows you an air of importance right there. And on top of that, he's a former first-round draft pick who was in a situation in which it was a bad one. And probably their thought process is the following. If we can just put him in our system, the sky is the limit. And they're going to give him a chance to see if that's actually actuality.
What you just said is reality. Like that's what's happening. Like that's more than that's why folks off the top when Gerard said pay attention to where all of, and I said this yesterday, Gerard, with Z, like he and I both said it, like all of the pieces matter here. All of them matter. Who goes first? Who gets the most reps? Like right now, looking at some of the reporting, and they're just closing up out there as we're doing the show, and it seems like Shedeur's getting the least amount of reps going in. Well, he was the last one selected. Kenny was the first one selected. Then they brought in Joe. Then they drafted Dylan, and then Shedeur fell in their lap. And so there is, you can say it's wide open, sure, but there are preconceived notions about all four of these guys from this coaching staff and from the front office.
Exactly. And I've been saying it. You've been saying it. Nate Dogg's been saying it. And it's just, again, the reality of the situation is there always is going to be a hierarchy. And even in the quarterback competition, there's going to be a guy who has favorability. It's just the way it is. And is it fair? No. Nothing about it is fair per se. But obviously, they have within their vantage point the right to decide who they think is the best option. And until that person proves them wrong, they're going to go with that route of thinking and rationale. And I have no problem with it because ultimately, Bo, we cannot be in a spot come, let's see,
we'll be here
a week prior to September 7th, somewhere around August 30th. Guys, what are we going to do with the quarterback position? That's not a proposition that can occur.
No, it's not. And it's also something that I don't think Kevin Stefanski will let occur. One of the things that's really cool here, and I'm curious if you've seen this before, it appears in the red zone they went vets on one side, rooks on the other in order to get everybody as many snaps as possible. That's one thing that's a challenge with a four-teamer, buddy. You got four guys who you got to see throw the football over and over again.
Right, and they're getting in. So here's a blessing in disguise, though, from this whole situation. Because normally what would those guys be doing? Normally those guys would be sitting on the sideline. I'm talking about the rookies and the 3s and 4s and waiting for their reps, right? And maybe they'll get 3 or 4 in. Now, in this case, they're getting more work in. Now, the person who's really getting the most work in is the guy in charge of, one, filming it, cutting it up, and then coaches are being spread left and right as well. So I have to imagine that, for example, in the secondary, you're going to have a situation where B. Lynch is probably with the ones and the twos, and then assistants are somewhere else, right? So that's how you break that situation down. But right now, what we're
Stefanski at the podium.
And I've been very vocal about the idea that one of the things that we have to do is work harder.
There's no question about that. And the man in charge of all of it is Kevin Stefanski. He's at the podium right now. Let's go there live.
As you know, as coaches,
You're done.
it's finally when we get to go against each other, offense, defense, get to really simulate practice in a lot of ways. So just getting into phase 3 with this first week of OTAs, but I think the guys are doing a really nice job. I also want to just thank Dee and Jimmy and JW and Whitney and allowing the Keepers Foundation to have a presence today. We have a whole group out here of really pillars in our community that we wanted to recognize and partner with, and that's who's out here. So we're very fortunate to have a group out here that really supports the community, and we're proud to be a part of it. So the Keepers Foundation is in year 2, and we're excited about the events we've had and the events that we have coming up. We have an event June 12th down at Truss that we're really excited about. So you'll hear more about that. But again, appreciative of Dee, Jimmy, JW, and Whitney allowing us to highlight this foundation. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Kevin, I know you said not to read too much into the practice order,
but you're not listening to me, right?
Yeah. But obviously we saw Kenny and Joe take the majority of the first two reps. I just want to ask, especially with Kenny, what has stood out to you about him as he's kind of joined this new team in the last couple of months?
Yeah, I'm really excited about what Kenny brings to the team. He's a guy that works extremely hard at his craft. I love the way he thinks about the game. He's very, very tough. So he's doing a nice job. As you can imagine, with quarterbacks or any position, we're throwing a lot at these guys, and I think he's handling it really well.
The added reps that you orchestrated in there, how do you think that went on?
I think good. I think it's day 2 for us, Tony, in doing it. So I think everybody understands where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there. There's a little bit of directing traffic when you've got 2 drills going on at one time, but they've done a really nice job. The players and coaches making sure that we're practicing in a safe way. We're getting good looks for our guys to learn from on both sides of the ball, and not asking more than we need to of the guys physically.
Joe, when you're splitting them up like that, putting the rookies on one field and the vets on the other, when you go back and you're reviewing the practice film, are you grading any different versus the defensive players that they're actually going up against?
Yeah, not necessarily, Daryl. I think, listen, all of these reps, like we've talked about, are super valuable, whether you're getting the rep or not. If you're standing behind and you're getting the rep as it happens, or you're getting it in the meeting room, or you're doing VR, all of these reps add up. And with every position, they're being graded on every play. And there's a variety of things that they're being graded on, but obviously for the quarterback, decision-making, technique, accuracy, those type of things. But we love the opportunity with being out here on the practice field, being able to have 2 drills where we can maximize all the time that we're out here.
Does Joe Flacco look like the same guy you had here 2 years ago?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I mean, Joe physically has been gifted with the ability to throw the football. He looks the same to me. He's doing, again, similar comment to Kenny. It's just fun having some veterans in that room, some young guys in the quarterback room. They really feed off of each other, and certainly Joe has a lot to explain to the guys, or a lot of wisdom to impart on those guys of things that have come up in his career.
Kevin, the other day you said that OTAs would be important to Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
The fact that he's not here, is that important?
Well, I think it's really important to remember that this is a voluntary program, and anybody who's here, we're excited about that. We're not reporting who's here on what day, so there are guys that will be in and out of the program, and that is totally their prerogative, but the guys that are here will just continue to work.
What does he need to – we haven't talked to him yet, Deontay. Felt like last year was a rocky year for him. He bounced around at several teams. So what does he kind of have to show you to reestablish himself as a player he had been for all those years?
Yeah, I wouldn't really think of it that big picture, Scott. I think for us it's just getting him to understand our program, what we're about, get him out here competing. But we'll really take that one day at a time.
Kevin, it seemed like watching today, Jerry caught just about everything thrown to him, no matter who was throwing it to him. Just how
important is he going to be for these quarterbacks to get looks to, and what's like next for him in this offense?
Yeah, I think Jerry is still a young player. I think Jerry has room to grow. I think he would tell you that. There's techniques that he's working on. It was year one for us with him, so getting a feel for the route concepts that he's really good at, things that he can improve upon. But with year two, with a team, you're constantly thinking about that next step, and that can come in a variety of ways. Certainly usage and where we put him and how we use him and what position he's playing and when you're motioning him, when you're doing different things. I think those are all the types of things that can grow into year two.
Kenny has been compared because of his draft pedigree to guys like Darnold, who have had a late resurgence in their career. Why do you think we've seen Darnold, those kinds of guys make sort of later arrivals?
Yeah, I think every player is, their career has different twists and turns to it. Certainly, I've seen that in my time just with different players at every position, and you need the right people around you to have some success. So Kenny is a young football player. I mean, this is year 4 for him. He just won the Super Bowl last season watching, and playing, but certainly seeing how it's done at an extremely high level and in a different way, different system, those type of things, but still a young player that I think has a lot left to go in his career.
The guys who choose not to be here, do they inform you of that?
Sometimes, Tony, but that's really not necessary. So I've had good communication with a bunch of guys.
Okay, let me just ask on the record. Myles Garrett is in Japan right now, apparently. Does that upset you in any way that you would be able to?
No, this is a voluntary program.
In terms of Joe Flacco went first, I know that we're not supposed to make a big deal, but first in the first team,
Yeah.
11 on 11s, and then Kenny Pickett in the second set.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to kind of mix things up and get a thorough evaluation?
It is, Mary Kay. We're doing that every day. We're mixing it up every single day. So that's why I tell you not to read much into it, even though you guys don't listen to me. But we're just trying to get guys exposure to different concepts, those type of things. So it varies by walkthrough. It can vary by drill. It's not something that we're really we're not leaning into or worried about the order at this moment.
The extra reps continue through minicamp and then you reassess?
That's right. Yes. I mean, I think it's something when your roster's at 90 that you can do.
But early in training,
Potentially.
you do the same?
Potentially.
Saw Mason get a couple of nice rushes there. One of them ended up in a tip ball for a pick. Just, what are your impressions of him from, rookie camp? We were joking about, him losing his lunch and all that, but just what are your impressions from rookie camp to what you've seen here now?
Really working extremely hard. Is in the weight room. I see him here, extra work, doing great in the meeting rooms. As you guys know, phase 3, the offseason's not really made for offensive linemen and defensive linemen, so there's a lot of work that happens in individual drills. So Coach Jacques has his hands on them, and they're doing just that. They are working really hard.
Kevin, I think we've asked you this. I know it's May, but
doesn't feel like it though.
Yeah,
right?
You're right about that. Is there any way that you keep 4 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster?
Yeah, it's May, I think, and any roster type decisions are so far off.
But I mean, have you ever been around a team that did that?
I'd have to check. Yeah.
Kevin, going back to the offensive line thing, how much can you learn about the run game in a setting like that?
It's hard. Yeah, it's really hard. I think, for us, we go back to this part of the season is still about fundamentals and techniques, and we don't want to get very far away from that. So while we do have team periods and while we do have 7-on-7, what we do in individual drills is as important as anything we do every day. So that oftentimes is related to the run game, and we're working the run game in individual, working it in a walkthrough setting, which I still think you can get better at. But it is the rules are not written to go run it every down because obviously you have to limit contact in these drills.
A couple more. DeWand looks like he's moving really well. He looks to be in pretty good shape. What have you seen?
Yeah, he's excited about his Pacers. I should say that. Yeah, he's doing a nice job. Again, Coach Bloomgren, Coach Wilkerson, Coach Davis, they're working really hard with all those guys and pushing them. And there's a lot of new things that they're learning, whether it's technique or terminology, whatever it may be. And he's embracing that. He's here every day, pushing very hard.
We also saw Alex Wright and Ronnie Hickman kind of working on the side and watching practice. I know Alex had just got cleared, but
yep.
I get any update on?
No update. They're just working through a couple things, but they'll be out there soon.
So what we saw with the quarterbacks, was it similar to yesterday? Or did you change things?
Yeah, we're going to mix it up every single day. Yeah, in terms of what guys are getting which reps.
So if the order doesn't matter, does the lack of reps for Shedeur with the ones matter?
Not for one day, no.
Kevin, in terms of Miles, has he communicated whether he'd be here next week, or you don't expect him until minicamp?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm worried about day to day, but let me reiterate, this is a voluntary program across the NFL. Guys, that's their right, whether they're here or not. The guys that are here, we coach them up. The guys that aren't here, that is totally their decision to make.
Kevin, running those simultaneous drills, I get it with the 4 quarterbacks, trying to get them reps. The reason you haven't done that as much in the past, is it just a wear and tear thing?
Yeah, well, I think you do it when your roster's at 90, and you have to be smart that you're not shifting cost to somewhere else and doing it where you're going to expose somebody else to injury. And I think Tommy has done a nice job in scripting it. Coach Schwartz has done a great job in getting his guys the reps that they need. So I do think it's a way that you can practice safely and still get a lot of good reps to evaluate your players.
I know we're supposed to hear from Jerome Baker today. We haven't had a chance, I don't think, to really ask you about him, but looking at what he can bring, what do you envision, especially with the way he's been able to create takeaways throughout his career?
Excited about Jerome. There were some young kids here again to visit, and I asked them who their favorite player was, and one of them said Jerome Baker. So you can guess where that kid's from. So excited to have Jerome here. He is a very fast football player. He processes really quickly. He does have great ball skills, like you mentioned, Ashley. So we'll see how he fits in. But he's taking to everything we've taught him. He's taking to it really well.
Coach, with those changes that you're going to be making with reps, would you envision that some of the rookies would get first team reps against the first team defense then?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks.
See you next week. See ya.
All right, a couple of things there, Coach Stefanski live. You like Coach Stefanski. I like Coach Stefanski a lot. He lied there. Of course this stuff matters. Like he tells him, don't pay attention to it. I keep telling you guys not to. No, you put thought into it. If it didn't matter, you could quite literally just draw him out of a hat and send him out there, but that's not what they did. All of the pieces do matter. Now, how much do they matter? Sometimes not much at all, but there is a reason for every choice that is made on a football field.
Right. Everything's intentional. If you operate with non-intention and just letting it come as it,
pick it up,
you're going to be in a situation where you're not going to win.
No, not at all. And one of the guys who was the topic of conversation there for Coach Stefanski was Kenny Pickett. Here he is now live at the podium.
Keep every competition the same. Like you're done daily. Learning a new system, playing with new teammates. It's just a daily process of trying to improve, and all that stuff will just work itself out.
How do you feel like you kind of performed today? Obviously, early on OTAs, but how do you feel like you performed?
Yeah, I felt like it was a good day. I felt like yesterday was a good day. I think we followed up with another good day, just working operationally and, buying into what the coaches want us to do and how we're supposed to break the huddle and operate and play fast. So I think it was a good first, 2 days of that, obviously, to watch the tape.
The Philly scheme is obviously kind of unique in the way that they obviously use the run game, the QB run game and whatnot. But are there any similarities to what you've done in Pittsburgh or back in college to what you're doing now here?
Yeah, I think there's more similarities to Philly's system than people may realize, just because we're a little bit more under center than the gun. Philly was more in the gun, but a lot of the concepts are the same and the teaching is the same. Just learning the new terminology has really been the big thing for me.
How do you approach this in Philadelphia? Kevin has mentioned multiple times. You spending last year with the Eagles, then winning the Super Bowl, you getting a first-hand look of what it takes to get to that level. Just what do you take from that experience in Philadelphia, and how do you think that is going to help move your career?
Yeah, I'm extremely grateful for my time in Philly. I think I just, was shown how it's supposed to be done, really, from the top down. So when you get a chance to see what it's supposed to look like and how it should look on a day-to-day basis, not just on Sundays, I think it'll pay dividends for me, in the future.
Kenny, I know you told us about Jerry, working with him in the offseason and training together. It looked like today he's catching everything out there. Just what's it been like to reconnect with him here, and what's that early connection like?
Yeah, he's a really easy guy to throw to. I think it's a good play whenever you're throwing the ball to number 3. So, we should keep doing a lot more of that. But no, Jerry's an awesome guy. He works really hard. His communication with the quarterbacks is awesome. Just, if he sees something or if I see something, the ability just to have that open dialogue and kind of being on the same page has been great these first 2 days. I think it's shown.
When you trying to guys like Darnold and Geno and Lake for resurgences,
Jerry's on this podium.
Quarterbacks too quickly.
I think it's just the nature of where the NFL is now, and just it takes a lot to play really, good quarterback play, and everyone's trying to, find that guy. And now I'm in this stage of my career where I'm trying to find that place and, figure it out. I got a chance to work with Geno this offseason, and he's, an awesome guy. And, I think that was also, a great experience for me working with a guy like him. It's very similar to Joe. Just later in the career, has played a lot of football, and you can just pick up small things as you work with those guys.
We didn't talk to you. We talked to you before the draft. So my question is, and you were very determined at that point that you were coming in here to win this starting job and to try to be the starter. So my question is, now that they've brought in 2 rookie quarterbacks and it's this 4-way intense competition, are you more determined than ever to win this starting job, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't think anything really changed for me. Our job's to play football. Everyone has a job and the ability to do. So I'm just focused on, my job and coming out here and competing and being as prepared as I can be, for these guys out here.
And how intense is the competition? How do you feel like it's?
I think it's, the outside world makes it up a lot bigger than it is. When you're day to day and you're in meetings with these guys, you're out of practice, you spend so much time together. Of course, we're all competing. But you become friends with everybody. We're helping each other. There's an open dialogue in the quarterback room to, help each other grow. So I think it's a great media headline, but when you get in the building in a quarterback room, and at least all the ones that I've been in, you really become friends with these guys, and we're just pushing each other.
When you last year, you go to Philadelphia knowing that your job's going to be to back up Jalen Hurts. So how do you approach it differently when you know that job could be yours to grab?
I think something that I forget who told me this early in my days in college. I just always approached every day as if I'm the starter, no matter where I was on the depth chart. So even when I was in Philly, I would prepare as if I was a starter because, you never know when that opportunity was going to be to go play. And, you want to be as prepared as you can be. So I'm kind of having the same mindset that I've always had since college of coming in, preparing like I'm the guy. So, whatever happens, it's just another day because I always have that same mindset.
With the extra reps out there, sometimes it looks like a 3-ring circus to us watching practice. The first 2 days, how do you think it's worked? Do you think it's worked?
I think it's gone well. I mean, they're doing a great job of getting, everyone reps, to see, get experience with the offense and get a feel for everybody. Reps are just so key for the quarterback position with continuity with players. So you always want to get as many as you can get, and if you're not in, stealing some mental reps and going in and watching tape and seeing every play, just to stay, as ahead as you can be.
What sort of lessons can you take from Geno's journey through the league?
Yeah, I think it's just taking advantage of an opportunity, when it's there. He bounced around a lot, got an opportunity, and took off. So great guy, loved working with Geno. So really just, trying to take advantage of everything I get.
What are you learning from Joe? I mean, he's been around obviously for 17 seasons. So what kinds of takeaways are you getting from Joe Flacco out here?
I think it's more, film room in between reps, talking about what he saw or what I saw. He's just it's like, he's not a coach. I don't want anyone to say that, but it's like having another coach when a guy that's played that much football. You could bounce ideas off of, ask him what he saw, how he would read certain things earlier in his career. There's just so many things, small things that you can learn. Just having that normal, open dialogue that we have in the quarterback room.
Do you do VR?
I don't. I've just I haven't tried it yet. I may go try it. Yeah, I'll definitely interested to try it. I'm just a big tape guy. I just always done it for a long time now, so I'm very comfortable there. But yeah, open to try it.
Kenny, obviously the Browns wanted you because they traded for you, but then since then, Kevin and AB, everybody's been really complimentary of you and think you have a lot of untapped potential. So how does that make you feel heading into this competition and just the fact that they think your best days are still yet to come?
No, that's awesome. That's why I'm just taking a day at a time and working really hard. I just want to be as prepared as I can be when the opportunity comes, and every chance I get out here, to put on good tape, play well, and then we'll see where the chips fall.
What do you learn, this time of year when you're going through the OTAs, the contact's limited, right? The defense is showing, but they're not being ultra aggressive. So what do you learn during this portion of the offseason program?
Those team periods are pretty aggressive. I think we were getting after it pretty good. But I think right now it's just learning a new system. Like you need live reps. Like at the end of the day, playing the quarterback position, you need live reps to feel comfortable in the system. I think the coaches are doing a great job of getting everybody those opportunities. And being as prepared as you can be, almost treating every practice like a game day script. You go home, you study it, you're prepared. You come in, you go out here and you work at it, and then you watch the tape. So I think that's kind of the process that I'm taking.
How about the two rookie QBs? The two rookie QBs really kind of picking your guys' brains and trying to learn from you, and if so, is it almost helping you learn too to have to be able to share with them?
Yeah, that's kind of the open dialogue thing that I was talking about earlier with Joe and all the quarterbacks. Just being in the film room, being able to talk through things. Same with Shedeur and Dylan on the side. If they ever have a question to ask me and talk through it, it helps me just as much as it helps them. So, it's a great working environment, in that quarterback room.
Did it surprise you that they took two quarterbacks after the draft, after the trade?
I think the longer you play in the NFL, you just take everything in stride, man. Like I said, I have a job to do. I think everyone's focused on doing their job. So it's been, going really well so far.
You say you go ahead and you approach it like that you are the starter, but did it add any more extra motivation for you in your approach?
No, when you get locked in that mindset, nothing really, makes it, different, I don't think. You kind of just stick in that mode and continue to show up and work every day.
Have you felt the Shedeur sort of aura? He's all over, social media. There's a huge fan base for him. He's a celebrity. I mean, have you sort of felt that? And if so, what impact does that have on any of this?
I don't think much player-wise. Shedeur's an awesome guy, man. He's funny to be around. He's a great time every day in the quarterback room. We have a lot of laughs together, so it's been a lot of fun having him in the building.
Okay, with Joe, you mentioned he's like kind of like a coach. I would say.
Not a coach.
Not a coach.
Right.
But he's been vocal in the past about it's not my job to be a mentor to
younger
quarterbacks.
Nope.
But it happens naturally, and sometimes he feels like, he gets. We play gotcha with him on that. What do you make of that whole? Why is it such a big deal for a veteran quarterback to see themselves as a mentor or whatever that is?
Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that question. Like I said, it's open dialogue in the quarterback room where he's not a coach, but you have so much respect for his time in the NFL where you're asking questions. He'll ask you questions of what I saw when he was in there. It goes both ways, vice versa. So, not a coach. Not a coach, but he's an awesome guy to have in the room to really talk through this system that he's been in before, especially, and systems like it. So it's been good.
Can you look back at those first couple of years in Pittsburgh? What are the things that stand out? You say, okay, this is what I need to do better, and there's so much more room for me to grow.
I think continuing to pocket has been, really good for me. Having a chance in Philly to do it, and I work with the coaches here, continuing to get better there. Felt like late in games, I found ways to win games, which was always good to see. But continue just to grow as a quarterback in the system. You have to be in a system for, a couple of years to really grow. I'm hoping I can have that here where you just build a foundation with something and grow with it. So I'm just taking it a day at a time.
Can you just a couple more? Deontay Johnson, what do you think he can bring to the table here, and what kind of camaraderie or chemistry do you two guys have?
Yeah, being able to play with Tay for a couple of years, where now we're teammates again, I think that's awesome. His route running ability, his ability to separate, I think, drop his way in and out of routes, it's special. So, I'm excited to get back out there with him.
Kenny, when you think about Geno Smith and some of the other guys, who have kind of resurrected their careers, not at the original place when they came in, in the draft as a first-round pick or whatever. Like, do you feel different? Like, is it freeing at all that maybe the expectations shift as when you come into Pittsburgh as a big draft investment versus now that might be off your shoulders?
I feel like I'm pretty hard on myself to be as best as I can be. So. I try to always not worry about the outside opinion and just, hold myself to a really high standard of how I want to play quarterback and how I want to play football. So I don't think my mindset will change. Excited to have this opportunity, really grateful to be here. It's been a lot of fun so far.
You mentioned during the team period it being pretty aggressive out there. Were you surprised to nearly be sacked on that one play?
What'd you say?
It looked like 90 took a good run on you.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It felt like live football to me. We were going after it, and that's great to get, reps full speed like that. You'd rather have the coaches try to pull back on the reins than tell you to get going. So I think it's a good way to be, and, how we should be, attacking each day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right, there you go, Kenny Pickett from the podium just after OTA practice number 2. This one open to the media. We do anticipate Joe Flacco will be heading to the podium here momentarily, so we're going to keep it here. Gerard, real quickly, I mean, he sounds like a first-round pick. Sounds like a franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, he sounds like a guy who's started 25 NFL games.
Yeah, it sounds like a starting quarterback to me. Very impressed with his the way he sounded. Did he not sound like he was in control of the situation?
Totally.
Answer the questions exactly.
Walking up.
Yeah, it was everything
Here it
that
comes.
that you'd want. You want to hear what a franchise quarterback sounds like? Here's another one. It's Joe Flacco.
You're down.
It's going well. Listen, it's the off season. It's OTAs. It's fun to get back out there and actually play a little football again. It's funny. It's like every time I go out here in the off season, I've done it a million times, but it's like there's a little piece of it. It's like, all right, let's see if I still know how to read it and let it go and do all those things. So it's good to get back out there and start doing it again.
Joe, I know you've probably been asked this a lot over the past couple of years, but like when you come into these quarterback rooms, especially one like this, where you've got guys who are like in grade school when you made your NFL debut, what's the dynamic like, especially for you, interacting with all these young quarterbacks?
I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, I actually, like, just from experience, I think they tend to get a little bit of a kick out of me just because I am 40 years old now and could be their fathers probably. And it's fun for me, too, in the same kind of way. I mean, they're young and they have a lot of life and a lot of energy and a lot of, new things that kind of can keep me in the loop with my kids and all those things. It's fun. Everybody in that locker room, it's like we're all 25-year-olds just having the time of our lives. And look, we get to come out here and do this for a living, so why wouldn't we feel that way?
Joe, when's the last time you were in a real quarterback competition like this one seems to be?
I don't know. High school. Probably my sophomore year of high school. I could be wrong, though. I don't know.
So what's that like, though? I mean, for you to be...
Listen, I'm not really thinking about it that much, honestly. I'm just kind of going out there and doing what I do, and, everything else is, kind of out of my control. So all I can do is go out there and play football, and that's what I'm doing.
When you were here in 23, Jerry Jeudy was not.
Yeah, he's exciting. I mean, he's got speed, he's got route running ability, and you can see the look in his eyes. He wants to be good, and he wants to do it the right way. So it's exciting to be around him.
Kind of similar to Amari Cooper in that standpoint.
Listen, I mean, I no knock on Jerry, but I mean, Amari's done it for a long time, and he's a little bit of a different cat. So that's when I say I see the look in his eyes out here. Like, I think he's striving to be somebody like that, for sure. But I mean, listen, Amari's done it for a while now, and like I said, he's a little bit of a different dude. He's pretty damn good.
How about Kenny Pickett? What are you seeing in Kenny and you guys? I see you guys out there, kind of talking a lot, and it looks like even just in photos that we've seen, you guys have really developed a nice rapport.
Listen, we spend a lot of time together. All the quarterbacks do. I think that's the nature of the beast when you're in this business and you're in a room together a lot. You better find ways to get along and find common ground with people, and that's what we're doing in there. We're having a blast and having a lot of fun talking football and then just laughing at things that come up, on a daily basis.
Have you ever tried the VR?
So I've been around some VR. I tend to just like sitting in the room and watching it on film. But I listen, I think when you talk to different individuals, everybody has a little bit of a different experience, and if you feel like you're getting help from it, it's a nice way to get extra reps. And a lot of the times with things like that, even if it's not like earth-shattering, if you feel like it is and you feel like it's giving you a lot of help, then it is. So I think there is value in it. I've never been one of those guys to kind of do it, but if that's what you like, then there's probably a lot of value in it.
You have been around. You've seen so much, almost everything. Even with Lamar coming into Baltimore, how have you sensed the whole Shedeur sort of celebrity and aura that kind of follows him around, and what impact does that have on anything?
I don't know if it has an impact on much, but Shedeur's been great. I mean, he's a lot of fun to be around in those meeting rooms, and I think so far there's been, at least once in the meeting room that he's made me crack a smile, and that's what it's all about. He's a young guy trying to learn some football and come out here and practice well and do those things. And like I said, he's been a lot of fun. I mean, he's come up to me and listen, I probably wasn't too far away from playing against his dad, and now I'm playing with him. So,
Joe, you've been vocal in recent years about the topic of like veteran quarterbacks having a duty as a mentor. Why do you think us outside world makes such a big deal of that?
it's a talking point. You can kind of like use it because it's a good question to bait somebody into answering, and no matter how they answer it, it kind of makes the guy that's answering it look bad. If I say I don't want to be a mentor, I look bad. If I say I do want to be a mentor, then I look like an idiot that doesn't care about being good and playing football. So it's one of those questions that no matter what I say, you guys can write what you want to write about it. And there's a lot of questions like that. That's why you end up having to try to avoid them. I tend to try to be honest. And I've said I'm not a mentor. I play football. And in a quarterback room, there's a lot of times there's been a ton of times where there's learning experiences. And I have a lot of experience and I can talk on things. And hopefully they listen. But it's not necessarily like my job to like make sure they listen to me. And, hey, like hopefully you have a really good relationship with the guys that are in the room. And you naturally want to do that, but that was a long-winded answer, but that's ultimately why I think you guys ask it,
Joe, you said you don't watch the draft. So when you found out that the Browns drafted 2 quarterbacks, did you have any kind of reaction to that?
I think you always have a little bit of reaction, going back to being honest. Yeah, I mean, my wife was like, oh, they just drafted another guy. My wife is on top of it, so there you go.
Do you think that your view, what you just said, is more of a predominant view, and then other quarterbacks are maybe less willing to be direct about it?
Listen, here's the thing is, because of what I just said, you're acting like I wouldn't want to be a mentor. It's once again, it's not really about that. It's just not the main focus. I see myself as a guy that can play in this league. So if your main focus was just hey, but I'm going to get you ready, you're just not taking care of business. The best way to be a mentor, honestly, is show people how you go to work, and like I said, hope that they pick up on that stuff, but not necessarily force them to pick up on the things that you do.
Do you think you're going to be a better quarterback as a result of being here from the very start as opposed to 2023?
I think there's probably some validity to that, and then at the same time, the offseason gets overblown in how important it actually is. In my experience, I love being here at this time with OTAs. Do I love Phase 1 and Phase 2? Not really. Do I love OTAs and minicamp? I really do. Once you get to train, because you're playing football, you're doing what you do. And at this point in my career, I have such a routine that I'm in, that I could stay in during Phase 1 and Phase 2, that ultimately could be more valuable. You could argue whether it is or not. I think there's value in being here in the locker room with your guys. I think that's the value. Do I think doing all the stuff that we're doing is super valuable? Maybe not. And then the other thing about that is when you get back for training camp, as valuable as this is or isn't, when you get back for training camp, it's training camp and it starts over, and now it's the real season, and that's what matters. So for some guys around the league that don't necessarily come to these, or for guys that don't need to participate in these, training camp, you show up and you're ready to go, and you're one of those guys that can be ready to go and play at the top of their game. That's what matters.
Joe, Tony's question there. Is there a comfort level now because you were here in 23 and you're not maybe having to play as much crash course catch up as far as learning the system and the offense? Is there a lot of similarity, or are you having to basically learn yet another new offense now?
I think you always kind of go back to the beginning and relearn and do those things, especially when you've taken a year to be in another offense. There's always refreshers, and I'd be lying if I said there wasn't any level of being a little more comfortable being here, just because you're familiar with your surroundings and things like that. But I think at the end of the day, you always kind of have to go back to the beginning and relearn and learn again and kind of start from square one.
So there's a narrative that Joe doesn't need as many reps.
Yeah. I think there's probably some truth in that. And at the same time, I like getting reps. I have fun going out there, and I want to, I want to throw to these guys. But yeah, listen, at certain times, I think there's some truth in I don't need as many. We just talked about it, how important is this time of the year. And I think it's fun, and I think it's important. I don't think it's the most important. So,
Joe, if the fans were determining who's going to be the starter on opening day, you would win that one, hands down, because every single place that I go,
Right.
everyone tells me that they want you to stay. So my question to you is just how cool is it for you to land back here where you just have the absolute love of all these Cleveland Browns fans, and are you feeling it again?
Yeah, it's a cool place. I mean, I the last time I was here, you picked up on it. I mean, it's a city that loves football and is hungry for some winning, and I think that's what resonated is we won games. And listen, it feels good, but listen, you got to go out there and you got to perform and you got to play well and you got to win football games. That's what it's all about, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm working hard to put us in the best position, put myself in the best position to be out there winning football games. So,
Just a couple more. Percentage, maybe, because obviously, like the offense was kind of revamped last year after you were gone. But if you had to put a percentage on how similar it is to when you were here in 2023, what would you say?
that's like asking, like, oh, if I'm injured, I'm like 80%. I never really understood that. I don't know how to come up with a percentage. It's either like 100 or 0. There's familiar. There's a lot of the same. It's a lot of similar concepts and things like that. There may be some new names and new ways we're kind of teaching things, but ultimately a lot of the core stuff is pretty similar. So a good amount, yeah.
Joe, Jerry was just talking. He says he's locker mates with you, and that you guys have a lot of conversations over the course of. What are those like, and how important is that, especially with a guy like Jerry, to kind of develop that, that bond beyond just on the,
Yeah, well, if you're assuming we're in there talking about football, we're not usually.
No, but
I can't tell you what we were just talking about in there. But it's fun. Yeah, like I love that. I love I was walking back to my locker and 3 guys were sitting right there, and I'm like, all right, what's the topic? What are we talking about? And they usually tend to shut up and listen because they think I have some kind of wisdom because I'm old. I don't necessarily, at least on some of the things they're talking about. I'm not sure I do have the right kind of knowledge about that, but it's a lot of fun.
Joe, along the lines of understanding your point on mentorship, but you talk about like learning from the experiences that you have. How much are those 2 rookie quarterbacks? How often are those conversations happening? I guess like whether it's in the quarterback room.
Yeah, a good amount. Like I mean, look, like. There's been, like, the first day we were out here throwing routes, like, Shedeur was asking me about steps and things like that. I mean, Dylan was, calling me up, trying to mimic my cadence and to see if that, like, for whatever reason, he wants to get it similar. So, he's even down to the cadence. I mean, there's questions and things and conversations. And they're,
Did you use
last one?
After or Dylan, did it add any more motivation for you?
Well, it's like when somebody asks the question, like, do you feel a certain way when they draft 2 quarterbacks or whatever? I think there's no shying away that there's something that gets ignited in you a little bit. Like, there's a reason I still want to play this game, But at the end of the day, I really don't focus on those things. I focus on coming out here, doing my work, having a lot of fun, and all those other things fall into place. Having good relationships with guys, and that's the quarterbacks included. It's not just the receivers and the O-line and the running backs. It's having good relationships in that quarterback room. You spend a lot of time with those guys. They all seem to be great guys and guys that want to play well and get better, and so I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, there you go. Your hot topics of the day presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Gerard and I have a lot to react to. That was about as direct as you could get from a quarterback. I enjoyed that thoroughly. We will do so after this quick timeout. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Add more fun to your fan with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today, get 50 back in bonus bets. You place your first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Well, you got a lot there. You got Coach Stefanski at the podium, then you got Kenny Pickett at the podium, and then you got Joe Flacco at the podium. Obviously, there's a lot to react to. To me, and you and I reacted briefly, Gerard, to the Kenny Pickett session. Joe Flacco's session was a grown-ass man, fully formed. I mean, like, you ask me a question, you want an answer, you'll get one. Do I think this is this big of a deal? No, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Do I want my reps? Yeah, I want my reps. Was I surprised they drafted a second quarterback? My wife was. Like, that was so cool and so refreshing. And, I mean, I remember when we signed him here and he finished the end in 2023, and he was on with Z and I in studio, and we said, good Lord, that's what a franchise quarterback sounds like.
Right. And there is definitely a difference in approach.
Woo!
Kenny was diplomatic, to say the least, and I love how he answered it, and he didn't say anything inflammatory, nor did Joe. Joe, just as we like to say, kept it 100. He told you what he's actually thinking, what he's actually feeling. Now, I would say he somewhat threw his wife under the bus in that one comment that she was paying attention to it, and obviously he was too.
Yeah.
But he told you, again, this is what I'm here for. Yes, I am not going to be a malcontent and off-standish in the quarterback room or anything like that, and I get along with guys. He also told you the importance of being there and what it matters. But he also talked about what? How phases 1 and 2 disrupt his routine and how he could do without it. So those things were definitely interesting. But again, that's coming from a perspective of a man who's been in the league so long that 2 of the quarterbacks in the room with him were toddlers when he started out.
You know, and I know that there's going to be a lot of attention given to his mentor comment there, how he says, I'm not a mentor. He actually explained it perfectly if folks actually listened to what he had to say. He said, it's a no-win answer for me. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what he said. It's a no-win situation for me. If I say, yeah, I want to be a mentor, then essentially what I'm saying is I don't want to compete. If I say I don't want to be a mentor, then I'm saying, then you're taking it as I don't want to be a good teammate. The reality is he's a professional football player. He's going to fight like hell to win the job. If he doesn't win the job, he's going to be a pro.
Right. And that's exactly what you need to hear. Again, he's at a stage, and one could argue that one should always operate from that dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And I could appreciate it. And again, going back to Kenny and his approach, he's been in the league going on 4 years now. Joe's been in it damn near 21. So
long time.
With that being said, think about it. He can say those things in that line and manner, and it makes complete sense, and it comes across as astute as well as fair, and not being, again, a guy who's going to be one sowing discord in the locker room. I didn't feel that way with his answers whatsoever.
Not
I
at
felt
all.
that was just a guy being flat out honest and truthful with how he feels about the situation at hand.
I could not agree with you more. No divisiveness, just a pro. And even said, like, look, I have a certain amount of experience. If guys ask me questions, they can lean on my experience, and we'll see if they listen. Like, that's what more do you want?
And that's the key part. And just not to say that he's not saying this, but the best way I can phrase it, I was going to use my children's comparison, but it'd be a poor one.
Yeah.
But I can say this. I've talked to players before as a former player and being an NFL veteran. And some guys just are going to do what they do and not listen to you. And you can have all the best of intentions, nothing about it to put them in a situation where they're going to make a mistake or try to trick them or fool them to get the upper hand. Some people, and in general in life, just aren't going to listen, and you have experience. So I like that approach, and I appreciate what he's saying. Hey, I'm in a room. I say something. It's up to those guys whether or not they're going to listen. Because I can also tell you competitions before in a football locker room setting where guys purposely say things purposely wrong and incorrect, tell a guy the wrong check call to get him in trouble, to get him thrown off his game. They're not playing those type of games in our quarterback room, and that's a great to hear that that's not the case occurring.
This I will say, and I think you and I have a very similar read on it. This is a pretty wild room. When you talk about a Super Bowl champion 40-year-old, you talk about a former first-round pick of your rival who started 25 games and then was a backup for the Super Bowl champions, and now he's here. You acquired him via trade. You have Dylan Gabriel, who's as accomplished in terms of statistically as anyone who's ever played college football, and everywhere he goes, they've gotten better when he's on the team. And the fourth one is Deion Sanders' kid, who when they got to Colorado was the worst Power 5 job in America, and they turned it to one of the most interesting programs in year one, and they turned it into a 10-win program in year two, and a guy who was projected to go in the first round who fell all the way to the fifth. We've never seen anything like this from a room. I mean, this has got everything in it.
No, and likely you'll never see anything like it again, to be honest with you, Bo, in that just the dynamics of what you just said. You just stop at the first two guys and be like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
We don't need more. But intrigue is intrigue, and we certainly have that. And the one thing that really stuck with me, going back to Dylan in particular, he's copying Joe's cadence.
Yeah.
And you're probably saying, what is that all about? Again, it's about projection.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in that huddle, when you're at that line, these little nuances that we talk about matter. If you sound like, and granted, you got to be authentic in yourself, but there's nothing wrong with taking part. It's a copycat league. If his approach sounds professional and what an NFL quarterback you envision sounding like, and you're copying that, I have no problem with that. Because, again, Joe Flacco has been in the league for a long time for a reason. It's not been by mistake or accident. It's because he knows what the hell he's doing, from the way he says his cadence to how he approaches the game. So, yes, this locker room, well, quarterback room in particular, yes, it is crowded with personalities. And, again, outside of maybe this comes close, Bo, you had a situation, but different from accomplishment standpoint, where Joe Montana, Steve Young, Bono, and I want to say our quarterback coach were all in the same room together.
Yeah, I mean there's been that. It's been a long time. And that's probably the most infamous quarterback room in the history of the National Football League, is they put all those guys in there and had Young and trying to replace the MVP in Montana. We're not there, but you definitely have a lot, and you just think of the life experiences that all four have, and they're so different. So it was fascinating. It was really good. I thought Kenny was really good in his, and then Joe was just, I'm a man, I'm 40. I mean, that's how I am. Like, I'm done. I'm past caring.
Man,
like,
I'm 40.
I am who I am, man. Like, there's not much change. I'm not going to evolve much, Gerard. This is kind of it at this point. And I think that's kind of the vibe I got from Joe. Like, this is who I am.
Yeah, it certainly was. But it was done in a manner of fashion, which, again, if you want to take it out of context and make it inflammatory, someone certainly could do that. But if you actually heard it for yourself and heard the tone and everything that he had to say, I think you're in full agreement with me, Bo, that it was just astute and on point and well said.
Just honest and straight and frank and straightforward. And no, there is nothing inflammatory about any of what he said. Just listen to it. And we're lucky that we're able to play it. That was very, very cool. Second hour of the program up next. Before we do that, though, the Cleveland Browns and Ohio's 529 plan a partner to present one lucky Browns fan with a $5,000 college savings award. You'll also receive 4 tickets to a VIP experience at Browns training camp. Visit collegeadvantage.com/Browns now through May 29th to enter for your chance to win. Second hour, Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, Barking Packers the official dog fan club of the Cleveland Browns is back for the 2025 season. Get your pup in on the action, exclusive gear, events, and more. Memberships available now. Fetch yours today or gift a membership to a furry friend at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers is presented by Milkbone. It's in association with Embrace Pet Insurance and Pet Supplies Plus. Well, we had an eventful first hour, my friend. We had Coach Stefanski at the podium. We had Kenny Pickett at the podium. We had Joe Flacco at the podium. Bo Bishop, Gerard Cherry with you here. Second hour of the program now. I do see the great ESPN Cleveland quarterback stat tracker. They were ready. Tone must have been doing it. Could have been Chops, too. I'm not sure which one. One might have been Chops. Here is the tally, the unofficial tally from us at ESPN Cleveland. Joe Flacco, 9 of 14 and a touchdown. Shedeur Sanders, 7 of 9 and 3 touchdowns. Kenny Pickett, 9 of 16, 0 touchdowns. Dylan Gabriel, 11 of 16, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. That's on the one that was batted down by Mason Graham. So that's where you go on your quarterback depth stat chart, my friend. Can we read anything into that?
Man. Well, from those numbers right now, I'd be saying that Joe and Shedeur should be battling for that starting position based upon that. But we have no idea whether or not that was a skelly period.
That's why it's hard, right? What do you...
Right. So who knows what was going on with that. So you can read those numbers if you want to, but obviously you don't want to see interceptions, and you do give credence to the idea that you're seeing and hearing about completions as opposed to incompletions. So that stuff does matter to a degree, but to keep it in context, Bo, you're absolutely right. And what I believe you're alluding to is the idea that for all we know, that could have been 5-yard passes, 6-yard passes, nothing beyond a intermediate route for all we know. Now, if it was from the 20s to the other 20s and they were doing that type of work, I'd pay attention to that.
Yeah, for sure. You don't know how much is red zone. You don't know how much is you don't know where it's coming from.
Right.
So take that a little bit with a grain of salt. Both Gerard and I we do think that there is some. It's not nothing who goes first. It's not nothing who gets the most reps. All of that stuff absolutely does matter. Is it the determining factor of who the starter is by the time we get to September? No, of course not. But it's a jumping off point on how you're judging these guys. In terms of offensively, what do you think for the Cleveland Browns to have success? And we did this, Z and I did this a couple of weeks ago, just like kind of played the schedule game when the schedule came out. And we said, okay, what's the worst case? What's the best case kind of scenario? If the worst case we were in, the 5-win range, something like that, worst case. And maybe some people think that would be lower. There's stuff all over ESPN right now that has us maybe as the worst team in football. Okay, that's fine. That's certainly that's just like your opinion, man. But then there's the other side of it where you go, gosh, things go right. Could you win 9? Could you win 10 with good quarterback play? If you're going to have a better season than almost everybody expects, offensively, what in your opinion does it need to look like?
Oh, it's really simple. It's one, you're going back to an offense in which the play setups from the offensive coordinator and head coach puts the quarterback position player in a position in which, hey, we're going to scheme you open for guys to make plays. And then you're going back to running attack and controlling the football with that. That's going to keep the defense off the football field, especially if you're able to pick up first yardage via the run. So that's going to help. So ultimately what I see is just a ball control offense, Bo, in which you do have the opportunity to score more than 15 points a game, and you're also going to be in a spot to where you're going to allow that defense to get rested and not totally be on the football field all the time. And then when you are in the red zone, it's going to be a nice balance of run and pass. And again, you have quarterbacks in play who can do what? They can make plays and not force the issue, and most importantly, not turn the football over. Because think about how many turnovers we had last year and the price that paid in regards to us losing plenty of football games.
You nailed it. It's going to be relying on how Kevin Stefanski got the job to begin with. Mm-hmm. It is a run to set up the pass. It is schemed open shot plays down the field. It is protect the ball at all cost. And it's probably going to be winning 20-14, 17-10, 17-13. We just don't have enough lateral weapons to make people fear you to where I look at it, I don't see us having next season a bunch of 4 or 5 play drives. I think for us to have success, they're going to be 10, 11, 12 play drives that milk clock, Rely on those two rookie running backs and Jerome Ford, obviously, as well. Some shot plays with Judy, and then obviously, I think with the two tight ends, I think you could get some stuff down the seam a little bit. But that's it. That is the roadmap. And so the mindset for these quarterbacks is don't turn the ball over, make plays. Now, the defeatist out there would say, if the first thing you're thinking of as a quarterback is don't make mistakes, what are you most prone to do? Make them.
Make a mistake.
Right. So how do they – you jump in the head of these four guys – what should their approach be?
It's really going with what the offense and the defense is giving you, not forcing things. And Joe will be the first to tell you that last year he got in trouble when he did what? I mean, you want a guy to be aggressive, be aggressive, but also that be aggressive puts the ball in adverse situations where it hurt us more than it helped us. So, again, turn on the film. Our head coach's resume speaks for itself. You turn on the film, you will see that Kevin Stefanski was able to take quarterbacks who are not done much of significance and beat the San Francisco 49ers, beat the Seattle's, well, not they, we lost the Seattle Seahawks, but put us in a situation where teams we had no business beating, we beat based upon who the quarterback was on the football field because we weren't winning that quarterback matchup. So I would turn it on. I would just show play after play after play to where guys were schemed open to where all you had to do was go to where the play dictated you go with your number one read because it was schemed open. That's making the job easy for you. Now, what happens is sometimes our ego gets in the way, but like, man, I can't make any money doing this. I got to show that I'm special. And when you start having that mentality, guess what happens? Bad things, because you're also battling now against the signal caller as well as the defense.
You hit it, brother. I mean, that's it. And that's what will be the challenge for these four guys over the course of the next couple of weeks and obviously by the time we get into training camp. All right, coming up next, we will go around the sports world. You'll hear from Jerry Jeudy in about 15 minutes from now. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. And Siegel game tickets on sale now. Secure your seats. Stay for the top matchups at Huntington Bank Field during the 2025 season. Don't wait. Head to browns.com/tickets now for more. As we go around the sports world, Bo and Gerard with you here on Cleveland Browns Daily. 4-time Super Bowl winning quarterback Terry Bradshaw says he is not a fan of Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh and being the starting quarterback. He said, quote, this was on 103.7 The Buzz in Arkansas. Remind me to tell you, Gerard, how this happened. If you're wondering how like an Arkansas radio station is getting on Terry, I'll tell you how all of this happened. So here's the quote. What are you going to do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? That guy needs to stay in California, go somewhere, chew on bark, and whisper to the gods out there. That is what he had to say.
Do you want to hear it?
Do you have it? Yeah, go ahead, Kev, if you got it.
What do you think about possibly Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback? That's a joke. He shouldn't. That is just to me is a joke. What are you going to do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? I mean,
that's not the Steelers' way, right?
No, man. That guy needs to stay in California and go, somewhere and chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there.
100%. These guys on the show, Mr. Bradshaw, know I'm not a fan of his. We've been around each other personally, and he was not a kind person.
Now, he does not. I had to go over and introduce myself to him. He's not. I had to go, hey, Aaron, I'm Terry Bradshaw. I know he knows me, but I just felt like I better tell him who I am. Yeah. And not, you walk in there and you get in his presence and you feel like it's going to start snowing.
So one of the guys on this show, and Kev, you may know the full story on this, so you correct me where I'm wrong. One of these guys in the show out of Arkansas at 103.7 The Buzz knows Bradshaw from like years ago. And they went and did their show out of Little Rock, Arkansas at his horse ranch in Oklahoma. And that's how they got this. So not only did they have the Bradshaw interview, they also had like Dan Hampton on, like the former Bears Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. And then John Daly called in. And they just did like
talk about Aaron Rodgers?
Well, about everything. They talked about everything. Yeah, Dan Hampton talked about Aaron Rodgers. And then the thing that struck me in that bite from Bradshaw, like he obviously felt disrespected that he had to go introduce himself to Aaron.
And you know what? He's right about that. I mean, Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls. Terry Bradshaw doesn't get – I mean, I make fun of him because he's with the Steelers, obviously, and I don't give him his just due, but he is a great quarterback. But here's the thing. Just out of the respect of the fact that he's your senior, why would you have this aura or air about you that, hey, you have to come speak to me first? Which reminds me, that's why I hate going to celebrity parties, Bo. They are the worst experiences, dog.
Suck.
Because people, you know what they do, Adam? You spend more time watching and observing people jockeying to see who's going to speak to each other first in the VIP areas. So it ends up being the worst parties because most people are spending all their time doing what? Having an air of self-importance. While if you go out with the regular people, you're going to have the time of your life because they're to do what? Have a great time.
They're going to have a great time, yeah. No. Did Aaron have a reputation at Cal? I mean, you're a Cal guy. He's a Cal guy. Like, what did you know of him as a young player?
Well, I just knew he was, but see, just as a guy who played quarterback and got drafted late, thought he was going to go to 49ers, and he's heralded at Cal, so you're not going to be hard-pressed to say anything bad about him. They might kick me out of Alumni Association because Lord knows, once you build a locker room and it's in your name, good luck saying anything bad about Aaron Rodgers. But so the perception at Cal is completely one of brainwashing and the idea that he can do no wrong. So that's where it stands there. But my opinion is simply, you've lost your way, man. And I get that. It's easy to lose your way when so many people tell you how great you are. It's easy to lose your way.
Well, I think I've been saying this, and loyal listeners here know this. I think it's known that he's going to Pittsburgh. When I left the Combine, Gerard, I said he is going to be a Steeler. They know it. He knows it. There's things that they have patience for, but their offseason plan, obviously, to me, looks like one that thinks they're getting Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they're going to roll into camp with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, and that's it. So, to me, I think they know they're going to get him. They've always known they're going to get him, and I think eventually he'll be there.
And I think that's the case, but here's the problem with it all. Yeah, you may get away with it on some degree not coming to OTAs, but I don't think you can do that as a quarterback. So much of you being in that huddle, you being present and setting the tone and tempo from a position of leadership of what the position demands from you, I don't think you can just be a mercenary and come in and check out and get away with it. Now, someone say, well, Joe Flacco did that. Totally different circumstance. He came late into the season and was the savior. There's a difference when you have all the time in the world on your hands to invest in getting to know your teammates and you'd rather be doing something else. That tells me that football is not primary to you. It's secondary and just something if you feel like on a whim you want to do, you'll do. And that's what the Steelers are working with. But that's more power to them that they have that atmosphere going on right now if they do bring Aaron Rodgers in. Hence why Terry was like, don't bring him in, because he knows from experience that's not how you should do things.
No, and I think it's exacerbated by the fact that he's going to have to learn a new offense.
Right.
This isn't New York where they basically ran his offense. Like, he's going to have to learn Arthur Smith's offense, and it's different than the one he's played in. So, yeah, all of those things are real, but I would be shocked if he wasn't there. Kev, do you happen to have Bradshaw and Pickett?
Let me take a look for you guys.
Okay, so the other thing that Bradshaw weighed in on was Kenny Pickett's time in Pittsburgh, and Pickett spoke earlier in the show. Yeah, it was pretty good. It's good. We were talking about Kenny had the first availability after Coach Stefanski, and we know how highly Stefanski and Barry and everybody in the front office thinks of Pickett. You love the way he handled his media session with the media earlier today. He's looked very good so far in camp, and what it is for him here is a lifeline and a chance to reset his career, Gerard.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the high mark of that is if you can pull off another Sam Darnold type of situation here, we'll more than take it. We'll be enthusiastic about it. And we'll go from there. But I believe that, hey, if you are in a spot, and we know it, I mean, Matt Canada's offense was horrific.
Horrific, man.
And this is how you know it's horrific. Whenever you're in a situation, with all due respect to punters and kickers, but whenever the punter and the kicker on your football team feels it's okay to publicly look at you sideways and say something inflammatory, that tells you everything you need right there. And that if the kicker's willing to do that, then that lets me know that you are horrible at your job. So Kenny was faced with bad coordinating and also malcontents and a poor offensive line. Tell me where that breeds success.
It doesn't, is the long and short of it. It doesn't breed that success at all. And that's something that Bradshaw kind of leaned on here. The quote it goes like this. When they got him to Pittsburgh, they didn't protect him. They didn't get him an offensive line. Then they throw a kid in there for 2 years. You got an offense that doesn't fit and doesn't work. They can't run because their offensive line's not even good enough for a run blocking team. Now they're saying Kenny Pickett is a failure. He wasn't a failure. The Steelers were a failure. Man.
That's real.
Jeez. I'll tell you.
Guess what?
Go ahead.
Everything he said is right because we got a winner if it is.
Yeah, it would be. I'll tell you something else. Like, there's obviously no loss between Bradshaw and the Steelers. This goes all the way back to Chuck Noll. Like, that's always in the city of Pittsburgh. It's always been a little bit of an uneven relationship there. And in the way back, like the fans and stuff, and Chuck Noll and all of it. Do you know that his jersey number 12 is not retired, but has not been issued since 1984 when he wore it?
And rightfully so. It shouldn't be worn. He represented in it, and I don't understand what took place between the two, the organization and Terry. But obviously, he's speaking his mind on it, and thank you because that is refreshing.
It really is. A couple other things around the league. Bills head coach Sean McDermott is not thrilled about being featured team for Hard Knocks. In years past, the Bills would have been able to turn down Hard Knocks. This year, the NFL removed the rule that allowed playoff teams to refuse to appear on the show. I think this will be where I was here when Hard Knocks was with us. This will depend on what the Bills allow and how interested Josh Allen is in being a part of this. That will dictate how good it is.
No doubt about it. And you can already tell from the head coach's mindset, no parts of it is he interested in. So again, it's probably gonna be one of your more lackluster ones because here's where it gets problematic though. Because if you're Allen, you are engaged, I believe, to a starlet.
Yeah, he is. You're right.
So with that in mind, do you go a Hollywood quarterback? And we all know how people feel about Hollywood quarterbacks. That could be a distraction. Or do you just do what you do and then let them figure out how they want to project it and put themes out there and narratives to present you in certain types of imagery? So that's the last thing that team needed because they have a good shot at making the Super Bowl. And they don't need that in a sense distraction, but it's here.
Buddy, the two most pressured teams in the NFL are the Ravens and the Bills. And now the Bills have this with them
Added
as
to it.
well,
Yeah.
and it's going to be at their feet. And look, we've seen where quarterbacks are a big part of it, like with Rodgers, like it was basically Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, he wanted that, though.
He loved it, and it was all him all the time. And Dak did a lot when it was with the Cowboys, but when they were here, like you didn't hear from the quarterbacks at all. You heard from Brogan Roback, like you didn't hear from Bake. You didn't hear from the other guys. And so it really depends on what angle the Bills allow for. One other thing real quickly here, Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen said the plan is for rookie Travis Hunter to switch sides of the ball each day during OTAs and throughout the offseason program. You played. Is this doable? Is this the path you would take? Offense one day, defense the next?
For him, yeah, because ultimately he's such a talent that keeping him abreast of both and not going long times without him working on those skill sets, especially on the pro level, will hinder him. But I'm of the belief, Bo, that he's capable of doing both. Now, can he be stellar doing both? Probably. I won't put him on. Put it this way: I don't see him being Denzel Ward at cornerback, nor do I see him being Jamar Chase at receiver, or better yet, Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
But I can see him contributing on both sides to where it's like, okay, yeah, he's good.
I think it's a good point out of you in terms of the ceiling. I also think that when you consistently shine going against the best, even amongst the best, you stand out, the impact will be felt. Like he, to me, felt like the surest thing in the draft. Like one way or another, his impact will be felt. Offense, defense, combination of both. It will be felt, and it will very much be significant. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out with him down in Jacksonville. Jerry Jeudy from the podium coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, single game tickets are on sale now. Secure your seats today for the top matchups at Huntington Bank Field during the 2025 season. Don't wait. Head to browns.com/tickets now for more. Now we head to the podium presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package day for the ultimate game day. Here's wide receiver Jerry Jeudy at the podium.
I'm excited just to see the growth in the offense. Just seeing how we compete, seeing how we're going to do this year, and just putting up points and winning games. You know, that's what I'm most excited about.
Jerry, you talked about just going to different quarterbacks and sort of expecting the unexpected. But how do you make that transition for them?
My bad.
How do you make the transition for them a little bit easier when you have so many guys that are kind of out there and you don't really know like who the set guy is, like just building that relationship and stuff? What can you do on your end, I guess, to kind of help that cause?
Just going out there in practice, just get open, run my routes how I've been doing, and just keep doing what I've been doing. It's only so much I can control. It just all I could do is just run routes and get open. So that's what I'm going to continue doing and keep on doing.
Coming up this season, go ahead.
What did you learn, like just going through last year? I mean, I know obviously there were so many points of frustration just with losing, but you obviously have your first 1,000-yard season. You found success. Like what, having time to reflect on it, was like important for you this offseason from what you learned being here in your first year last year?
Just patience, just like, I ain't start off my season last year how I ended it. Of course, so I just stayed patient, kept working, kept focused, and just kept working on my craft. Eventually I was able to, perform and show what I could do, and that's what I'm going to continue to keep doing.
Kenny mentioned working with you even before you were traded here. How much have you already noticed kind of a benefit to that just out here during the this off-season part?
Sorry, my bad. Can you repeat that question?
Just having worked with Kenny even before he got here.
Oh yeah.
How much of a payoff has there already been? Do you feel like there's been?
Yeah,
in what you guys have?
Yeah, I worked with Kenny back in South Florida, just building that connection, building that relationship. It means a lot, even off the field. It means a lot because it transitions on the field when it comes to this route running and getting on right timing, communicating each other, talk about what we see on the field. So, it's always big.
How much more comfortable do you feel, obviously last year coming in was your first year here, everything was kind of new, just how much more comfortable do you feel in the offense and with the team and just kind of where you're at?
I feel pretty comfortable, like you said, last year was my first year. Now it's my second year, so I'm more, committed. I feel pretty good.
What are your impressions of the two rookie quarterbacks so far?
Oh, they working hard. They competing very well. Very smart, athletic quarterbacks that know the game of football, that know how to play the position real well. Very smart. I'm excited. They got a bright future ahead of them.
Was Joe in Denver with you?
Joe, he actually left before I got there.
Okay.
Yeah, he left before I got there. But I heard a lot of great things about him though.
Yeah, what's it been like getting to work with him so far today and this week and whatever?
It's been amazing. He actually my locker mate, so I have some conversation with him from time to time. He a great dude, great quarterback. Been in the league for a long time, understand this, and I'm excited to have him.
You talk about the rookies working hard and trying to sort of get acclimated here. What are the conversations like with them, between you guys, between you and them, and just how much do they pick your brain in terms of trying to kind of get themselves acclimated?
You know, they don't really ask me too much questions because they already know what they need to do. They don't really ask that much questions, you know. So, you know, they just come out here and do that. They know football. They understand the game. They know that's what I respect most about them because they understand the game of football. So they don't really ask too much questions. But once they do, they must don't know. So I tend to give them a tip or two about it.
Who throws the best ball?
You know I'm not going to answer that. you know I'm not going to answer that.
What's it like? It looks like a three-ring circus at times, but it seems very organized with all these extra reps. How's it gone for 2 days as a receiver with all these extra reps?
It's been good, you know. Y'all seen practice? There was a lot of drop balls today. I don't think there was a lot of drop balls. So quarterback was putting balls right on the money, you know, and the receiver was making plays. You know, we're gonna keep doing that.
Jerry, what are those conversations with Joe like sitting next to him in his locker? Is it personal stuff, football
Yeah,
stuff? What are you guys talking
it's a little bit of personal. We just had a personal conversation come before I came out here, you know, something that I ain't gonna say out here in the media, but you know, we just be talking, nothing major.
And then I'm thinking, you know, last year you were kind of in that corner with JOK, and you guys always had those lively conversations.
Yeah.
So has it been hard kind of seeing him go through what he's gone through? Since
I miss my dog JOK, man. Just the energy he brings to the locker room, even on the field, you know. But you know, you want to be able to want the best for him, you know. Unfortunately, we ain't gonna have him this year, and that sucks because he's one hell of a player. But you know, I just wish the best for him.
Jerry, how has your approach to this stage of the offseason changed as you become an older player?
Say that again?
How has your approach changed to this stage of the offseason as you've become an older player?
You know, just by taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, knowing you're getting a set routine before you go out there on the field, and make sure you prepared when you is on the field. That's the biggest thing for real.
Along those lines, why is it important to you to be here for this phase of the program, even though it is voluntary, obviously?
Because you want to build that connection with your quarterbacks, and you know, just even we got new plays in. You just want to be able to understand the new plays, new concepts, and things like that. You know, and I just love football. I love being out here. I love competing.
You weren't here when Flacco had his big month.
I seen it though. I seen it.
At the time, Amari Cooper said, when he throws the ball, it's like poetry in motion.
Yeah, it is.
You see what he means?
Yeah, I see exactly what he means. I see him out there every day so far, you know, so I'm excited for Joe. I'm excited to play with him.
I was going to ask, like, along those lines, how aware were you of that story, like, as it was happening when he went on this run with the Browns in 2023?
I was watching it.
Yeah.
I was watching it. Yeah, I watched a few games, you know, so, yeah, I'm not surprised to see what Joe been doing.
Talk about you wanting to score points and getting the offense flowing, but some of the receiving for you, Cedric, Jamari, you guys were doing those one-handed catches over there. What has just kind of been your approach with them and as a unit as you guys, you know, just work through the offseason together?
The biggest thing really just building confidence, just knowing, like, just ingrained in their brain, like, we're the best. This is what we do. If we're in the NFL for a reason, so just making sure everybody's on the right page, just play fast and play confident, you know, so that's the biggest thing for real.
You talked about the rookie quarterbacks, but there's some young receivers here looking to make a name for themselves, looking to earn a spot. So for you as a veteran leader now, what is your message to those guys?
The biggest thing really is learn their playbook, learn their position for real. Then everything will come afterwards. Once you keep your head in that playbook, know what you're supposed to do on offense, know where you're supposed to line up, know where you're supposed to be for the quarterback, you know, then the little techniques and details will follow with it. So that's the biggest thing for real.
Have you liked what you've seen from them so far?
Yeah, we got a great group of guys. You know, I'm excited for the young group we got.
Tommy was here obviously last year, but he was, you know, tight end, working with the tight ends. How much have you noticed, you know, his influence on what you guys are doing offensively?
Yeah, Tommy. You know, he don't really say too. Tommy don't really say too much, you know. But that's my dog. We got a good relationship off the field. That's my dog. I mess with Tommy. That's my dog. But he chill. You know, he just call his plays. Don't really say too much. You know, show the little details you need to fix and work on. You know, ain't too much with Tommy.
he's your guy. Were you excited when he got promoted to offensive coordinator?
Yeah. Because, Tommy a real cool dude, man. I mess with Tommy. Yeah.
All right, that's from the podium presented by Vivid Seats. Push your official fan experience today for the ultimate game day. Jerry Jeudy from the podium. So much more to come. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, that was eventful. And I know you're going to have it covered on the next level as well. Coming up next, my friend, Bo and Gerard here wrapping up. Look, OTAs are going to be about the quarterbacks. Training camp's going to be about the quarterbacks. it is going to be the question really of the offseason. It's going to be the question, honestly, through the season as well. And it really did start in earnest today, my friend, where this is the first time we've seen all of them together in one place, at least for the media, and we're able to make our own judgments about what we see.
Yeah, it felt like one of those G Summit events where you have different speaking styles from leaders of the free world, right? And you had in this situation, Kenny Pickett was diplomatic.
Very.
And Joe Flacco told it like it is. It was very intriguing, to say the least.
Yeah, and I think what you got out of Kenny is you're reminded – it's the first time we've heard from him in a while. You're reminded that he was a former first-round pick. You're reminded that he was a 2-year starter in Pittsburgh, that he's faced all of this before. What you got with Joe Flacco is an old guy. He's not as old as I am, but at the same time, he's an old guy who's fully formed. You ask him a question, you're going to get a direct answer.
Right. And not only do you get a direct answer, but you get a direct answer in which you walk away from it saying, okay, there's
1 minute.
Here, there's nothing trying to cause a stir or anything of that nature. It's just the truth.
No, and I'm sure there'll be people that look for There was nothing inflammatory with any of it. Direct questions were asked, and direct answers were given. I mean, it's kind of that simple. My friend, it is always a pleasure getting to do a show with you. I look forward to listening to you and Emmett and everybody coming up next on The Next Level. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds great, both.
All right, there he goes, the great Gerard Cherry. The Next Level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.